So today we are going to be making the mushroom risotto in the Thermomix. Let's get started. Okay, so our first step, we are going to add 40 grams of parmesan cheese cut into cubes. Okay, so just to show you, I've cut them about this big. So it's asked us to pop the lid back on. And now we are going to chop for 10 seconds at speed 10. Just to show you, that is all nicely, finely chopped and grated with next to no hands. Okay, so I just need to transfer that into a bowl. I'm going to be a little bit cheeky. It does tell me to clean and dry the mixing bowl. I'm not going to. Okay, so now it's asked us to put a brown onion in. Okay, now I have chopped that just into quarters, so it is still quite big and chunky. I'm going to pop the lid on and we are going to chop for 3 seconds to speed 5. Okay, just going to hit next. It's just asked me to scrape the sides of the mixing bowl. Give you a quick look at the onions. So that has chopped them up perfectly fine. Okay, so now we're going to add 40, whoops, the daisies. Now we're going to add 40 grams of cold butter. And we're going to add 40 grams of olive oil. Okay, now we're going to pop the lid on. And it is going to cook for 3 minutes to 120 degrees, and it's just going to turn at speed 1 with the blades. This is going to perfectly cook down our onions and saute them just as you would on the frying pan, but you're not going to end up with burnt black onions at the end. So that has now finished. It smells amazing. So those onions are perfectly soft and translucent. So we'll go to our next step. So now we're going to add 320 grams of arborio rice. So it's asked me to place the splash guard on top. So we're now going to cook for 3 minutes at the highest possible temperature, and it's going to stir the rice and it's going to cook them off, and all that oil and butter that was in there is going to be absorbed by the rice. Now we have put the splash guard on top so that it lets out the heat and the moisture without splattering any oil out onto the Thermomix or onto us. Okay, so that has finished. So take it off. So all that butter has been absorbed into the rice. Okay, so now we're going to add 60 grams of dry white wine. Now, I always advise you to make sure that those scales are at 0, just so you're not heavy-handing with any ingredients. So this is a step that you can definitely skip. You don't need to add the wine if you don't want to add the wine. The alcohol content will be cooked off in the next step, but if you prefer not to have it in there, that's totally okay. So it has asked us to pop the splash guard back on. And now it's going to cook for 2 minutes, again at that highest temperature. And it's going to stir that. So it is going to cook out the alcohol, as I just said. And it's going to keep stirring it to make sure it doesn't burn, overcook, or anything like that. Okay, so that has now done. Sorry, I just skipped past that one. So it has just told us to scrape the sides of the mixing bowl, okay? And we want to try loosen any rice on the base that might be there. So because it has been cooking at that high temperature, there is a chance that some rice has stuck to the bottom. So we just want to dislodge that if we can. All right, you don't have to be too precious about it. I find it's easier at this point to take the bowl out of the machine just so you can get in there, but you're more than welcome to leave it in, because normally when you're cooking, you wouldn't be cooking from behind the machine. Okay, so next step, so it's asking us to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of homemade stock paste. Now, this is one of the first things we do make in our Thermomix, and it is deliciously wonderful. I do highly recommend. Always go a bit heavy on the veg stock paste. I say 1 to 2. I'm always a 2. Okay, so we've got our mushrooms. So we're going to add these in. Lucky my scales were at 0. Okay, so there's 250 grams here. All right, so we're adding 720 grams of water. Okay. Perfect. All right, once again, just saying, just to give it a scrape. You don't have to worry too much. Okay, so now we are popping the lid back on, and it has asked us to place our steaming basket on top. So this is the steaming basket. Just going to place that on top. Once again, it's going to allow the air to escape. So right now we are going to turn it on. It's going to cook for 13 minutes at 100 degrees. The blades are going to stir in reverse. So there are 2 sides to the blade. There is the sharp side and the blunt side. So we can alternate between which sides are spinning in the correct direction. So at the moment we want them to go in reverse, so it is the blunt side. So as the rice cooks, it doesn't start to chop it. Okay, now you guys can go sit down, enjoy yourself, go have a shower, bath the kids, read a book, pack lunches for tomorrow, just go watch some TV. Doesn't matter what you do, but for the next 13 minutes, you are not needed here with your Thermomix. So our 13 minutes is up. Now, at this point in the recipe, you will look in the bowl and it will look like it's not cooked. But I just want to explain something to you. So, as I was explaining before about the blade spinning in reverse, because we don't want to chop up the rice. We don't want mashed rice for dinner. We want perfectly soft cooked risotto. So at the moment in the bowl, it does look like there's lots of liquid. So what we need to do is either leave the risotto in the bowl here for another 10 minutes, and the rest of that liquid will be absorbed into the rice. Or if you have a thermoserver, you can pop it into the thermoserver and start the cleanup process. Now, this is just a basic mushroom risotto. What I've done is I have ripped up some spinach. I put it in the bottom of my thermoserver. And I am going to pour all of that in. Okay, oh, I have lost my spatula. 1 second. It's too efficient, and I washed it before. In that 13 minutes, I had all that spare time. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is pop it in here. And I'm gonna put the lid on. I'm gonna let this sit for 5 minutes. 10 minutes, 15, 20, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to overcook, it's not going to spoil. It will give me time to clean up. So now I am going to pop the machine on the pre-clean setting so that I don't have to do all the hard work. To do that, I just fill up with some water just to above the blaze, so at the 1 litre mark, put a drop of dishwashing liquid on and we'll turn it off. Okay. On. Really important, put measuring cup back in when you put the pre-clean function on. The last thing you want to do is put your pre-clean function on and not have your lid on, because mess, water everywhere. Okay, so there was a little bit of browning at the bottom of my bowl from that high cooking of the rice. So I've put it on the browning setting. This is now just going to give itself a pre-clean. It's not going to come out perfect, but what it's going to do is it's going to do a lot of that hard work for me. Okay, so we'll be back in a couple minutes and I will show you this perfectly cooked risotto. Okay, so the pre-clean function has now finished. Our risotto has sat here for 5 or so minutes, so I'm just going to give it a check now. Give it a bit of a stir. The rice is all nicely cooked. That spinach I popped in the bottom is nicely wilted as well. And we are pretty much ready to serve. Now, I've got the grated parmesan that we did earlier, so we can either sprinkle that over the top, stir it in, or you can serve it at the table. And I like to add some sun-dried tomatoes as well to my risotto. But that is everything for this video. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask. No question is either too big or too small.